Let's move on to the Giants. Saquon Barkley, I think that's the top investment people are thinking of making in this offense. He's currently the number 5 running back off the board, number 5 player off the board. Thoughts on his current ADP? Is that too high, too low? Should he, Taylor and Kamara are the two surrounding him. Kamara at 4 and Taylor at 6.
Yeah, it's tough, huh? I mean, because he's not just coming off an ACL tear, he had a meniscus tear as well. So they're already talking about scaling back his workload. He might not be, the full workhorse back week 1. That's already scaring me away. Plus, I think Kadarius Toney might eat into his target share a bit. He's a similar skill set where you just kind of want to give him the ball near the line of scrimmage. So that's, another downside taking Barkley there. But either way, I love his upside. So I'd probably take him over Taylor for sure. So I still have him my RB5. You just have to be a little bit careful when you're taking Barkley.
Yeah, I think I do think there's some question marks. We really haven't seen a lot of him under Joe Judge and this and Jason Garrett and this kind of new offense because he did get hurt. I do have concerns about the O line, which I really don't with Taylor. And then even a guy like Nick Chubb and Aaron Jones, it's like with Barkley, it's like we know the upside is number 1 or 2 overall. So I think that's why he's in that 5th position. But given his health, and given that the Giants play really slow paced with Daniel Jones at quarterback, because I guess he needs time to figure everything out, or maybe they just don't want him. They want to kind of minimize the plays that they're running with this guy. But I think I'm low. I think I'm going to be lower on him than consensus. I just don't trust he can stay healthy, and I don't think he'll have that same, like you mentioned, dual threat workload that really set him apart in years past. So I think you do have to kind of manage his reps and take him out on some passing downs. Then you have Evan Ingram at the tight end position, and he is the tight end 15 in ADP. What are your thoughts on Ingram, who's just a massive disappointment, even with targets up for grabs last year, which there may not be as many of this season?
Exactly. I'm down on Ingram. There's just too many mouths to feed in this offense now, especially with Golladay and Toney being added. And now they have a competent backup in Kyle Rudolph. So there's just too much downside in taking Ingram. Like you said, he's been a disappointment even when he's had, wide open target share. So it's like I'm off on him. There's so many tight ends in that range that I'm willing to take a chance on. I think they have more upside. So I'm passing on Ingram this year.
Daniel Jones, QB 25. Does he have any kind of, I guess, late round quarterback appeal? Is he strictly a 2 QB guy? Can he not fall down when he has wide open lanes to touchdowns? These are the questions for Daniel Jones.
I very rarely advocate for Daniel Jones, but at QB 25, I think he offers enough upside to take a flyer. And 2 QB super flex leagues, there's not much to lose in that range, especially in best ball. But I think with Kenny Golladay in this offense, and Daniel Jones, he has that sneaky rushing upside that he was hindered towards the end of last season with hamstring and ankle injuries, so we didn't get to see 100% Daniel Jones. So he still does have that QB1/QB2 edge upside. So I think he's worth taking a flyer. You're not expecting him to be a Hall of Famer at that ADP. So I'm worth taking a flyer on him, even though he's usually let me down the rare times I've ever stand for him. But right now I think he's worth a flyer.
All right, let's go to the prop for the Giants.
All right, so let's go with Kenny Golladay, total receiving yards this year. I have the line set at 935.
I'm a little under. I'm at 883. And it's just a combination of a few things. Number one, I think the quarterback situation is still shaky with Jones. I think the pace could be low. And the fact that they have these 4 guys and Golladay hasn't always stayed healthy, right? And he's a little older than your average guy who kind of broke out somewhat recently. So yeah, I just that's kind of why I'm a little bit under. But I'm curious as to how do you see their starting lineup shaking out? Because I'm under the impression that it's going to be Golladay, Slayton on the outside with Shepard in the slot. And Toney is like, as you mentioned, kind of your Mecole Hardman, like your fourth wide receiver who goes in the backfield. He'll line up like they're Pollard, almost what Garrett had Pollard. But Toney, Galladay's going at 20th off the board at wide receiver. Shepard 57, Toney 65, Slayton 80. I like Toney, but that just seems to kind of discount Slayton, who, remember, was very successful when he wasn't the number one guy on the outside and didn't have to deal with number one coverage.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I think Toney is not a guy that we need to target for fantasy, but he might be the annoying guy kind of siphoning targets away from these guys. But I have a similar starting lineup as you. And, we can't trust Jason Garrett to figure out how to use Kadarius Toney, so that helps Darius Slayton, I think. So I'm with you. I think Slayton at the end of drafts definitely worth a flyer just to see, if he can maintain that starting role. Because, like I said, I'm not confident that Garrett will figure out a way to use Toney. So yeah, I have a similar lineup as you. And Sterling Shepard, he's still a dark horse to lead the team in targets, so I'm not ignoring him either. It's going to be interesting to see how this sorts itself out. So I'm kind of low on everybody, but Golladay, I'm curious that, so when it comes to Daniel Jones and Kenny Golladay, I want a quarterback that's aggressive, and Next Gen Stats has that aggressiveness percentage stat where Daniel Jones ranked third his rookie season, and last year he was 13th. So he's more than willing to fit the ball in tight windows and be aggressive. So I think his playing style could fit well with Kenny Golladay, who's going to be having contested catches every time he's getting a target. So I think that he and Jones could have a sneaky connection, because Jones has shown the willingness fit the ball in tight coverage. So I think they Kenny Golladay could be sneaky if you get him towards like ADP wide receiver 30, wide receiver like wide receiver 25 to wide receiver 30. I think he's a sneaky picker in that range.
Yeah, and his move was great. Like I love the move because it unlocks Slayton as that number 2 where he had a lot of success. He doesn't, because he's not a number one guy who's gonna beat coverage on the outside or that consistently. That also allows Shepard to not have to play on the outside. He can be a slot receiver where I think he's gonna be a little more effective, and he's always been better with on the inside. Remember, Odell Beckham was kind of drawing away coverage, and Shepard had that big touchdown year one year, he had 8 or 9 touchdowns or 10 or something like that. And you also allow Ingram and Shepard to now be like it might even help Ingram efficiency wise if it doesn't help him target wise, and you still have Barkley threatening defense. So you just have a lot to deal with as a defensive coordinator because of this Golladay move. But it's like you said, it's just target wise, everyone's going to get hurt and the pace is slow. So, but I actually think Toney would threaten Shepard's job more. Not that I think it should necessarily. I think Shepard's a good receiver, but I just think I don't know if Toney's going to play on the outside like that in year one. So yeah, it's a tough situation.